Welcome back my dudes to another AskReddit video. This is one of my favorite threads I have read in a while, so kick back and let's get started. What is the stupidest thing you thought as a child? I thought burglary was a profession and that criminals' shifts started when the sun set and they'd be on all night robbing houses. To calm my fears, I would put my blinds up a little, lay down in a pile of stuffed animals and freeze, staring out the window. My thought was I'd look like a doll, and if a burglar saw me through the window, they wouldn't realize I was a human, and then I could get up and call 911 when they looked away. I fell asleep in that stuffed animal pile every night for 2 years. Not me, but my son. He didn't want us to get a new TV because he liked the shows on the old one. I did that too, but I was hiding from the aliens. When I was a kid, I thought ice cream sandwiches were literally 2 pieces of bread with ice cream in the middle. I really wanted one. I went to ask my mom if I could have one while she was napping, and she half-consciously said we didn't have any. I said that's okay. I'll make one. She said nothing. I quickly learned ice cream sandwiches were not, in fact, 2 pieces of white bread with a spoonful of vanilla ice cream in the middle. I thought this too. I'd only heard of an ice cream sandwich in a Babysitter's Club book, and it's the obvious conclusion. Funnily enough, this was the time when my favorite ice cream was the Monaco bar, which is, in fact, an actual ice cream sandwich. We just don't call them that here. My address was 25029. My parents told me that represented my mom's age, 25, and my dad's age, 29, when they got married, and the 0 was for how many kids they had at the time. As a little kid, I thought that rule, mom's age, number of kids, dad's age, applied to all home addresses. I would always see houses with addresses like 05785 or something and wonder how a 5-year-old married an 85-year-old and already had 7 kids. I believed this for far longer than I'm happy to admit. Sex was just making out with no clothes on. I remember one time in like grade 2 or 3, a girl kissed a boy on the lips during lunch, a little peck, and when we got back to class, someone told the teacher that 2 students had sex in the playground. I didn't really know much better at that age, but I just remember the teacher being really shocked. I noticed that I was able to jump off the playground and land on my feet and be perfectly fine, so my child mind immediately decided I was a superhero and could land from any height and be perfectly fine. I went to my friend's house, jumped off this roof, and the next thing I remember is crying until my mom picked me up. I met someone who thought sleeping together literally just meant sleeping in the same bed, and freaked out that she would get pregnant when on a school trip they required people to share beds. She was 14. Everyone on the trip was a girl. This is why sex ed is important. When I was about 6, I used to think sex was just a hug because my parents called it a special cuddle, and I knew it had something to do with the balls. So I thought when a man and women hugged, the balls went through the man's skin and into the woman's body, they neither came back or regrew. I'm a little fuzzy on that detail, but I concluded that if 2 men hugged they would just swap balls, so I punched myself in the balls, went and hugged my brother for the ultimate prank. I asked him, "Do your balls hurt?" and he was like, "No." So realized I had just punched myself in the balls for no reason. My dad told me that Tiger Woods had a brother called Lion Woods. When we were little, my twin sister was convinced that chicken, beef, etc., was produced by vacuuming the meat out of the living animal. The animal would then walk around all wobbly and meatless until more meat grew back. I thought that every song that played on the radio was being performed somewhere live, and when you turned up the volume the singer would sing louder at his/her venue. I thought that any time any woman went to the hospital, it was to have a baby. I thought that any time any woman went to the hospital, it was to have a baby. My 98-year-old great-grandmother was in the hospital, and all I wanted to know is when the baby was gonna get here. I'm sure this is pretty common, but I used to think before color TV everything was black and white. I remember as a child asking my nan what it was like when they saw color for the first time. I was raised in a Christian home by a wonderful mother, seriously the best. But my father was a Nazarene reverend, so I was taught some weird racism. Like when my mom would say, "It's getting dark in here," as a black family would walk in. Subtle stuff like that. So, that gives a little context. When the first MIB movie came out I was stoked. But, I didn't really understand the title at 5 years old. I thought the character played by Tommy Lee Jones's name was Men, and I thought the character played by Will Smith's name was Black. So, The movie I watched was Men in Black. I have a friend who teaches. A kid asked her when they give money at church, how does a church get it to God? My friend jokingly said they tie it to a balloon and let it float up to heaven. The kid said he was going to ask her pastor if she could watch next time they did it. My friend teaches high school juniors. I was told that God lived up in the sky. For some reason, the highest thing I could imagine was the pipe sticking out of the neighbor's roof. So I thought God lived in the pipe. I asked my preacher where the collection money went and he simply replied, "It goes back to God." So I thought that he would burn the money after church every service, and the smoke carried it back up to God. Thanks for watching. If you made it to the end, don't forget to leave a like and let me know in the comments what else you would like to hear from the world of Reddit. Until next time.